Inside the End Times. Chapter 1. The Long Night. The earth did not die. It merely held its breath. For months, the sky was a bruised charcoal, choking out the sun. The air was thick with the taste of copper and ash. In the deep silence of the nuclear winter, the survivors of the Great Reset were not living. They were merely existing in the pauses between heartbeats. Deep within a reinforced concrete bunker in what used to be the rolling hills of West Virginia, Katie sat by the ventilation schematics. She was 50 now. The soft edges of the bookstore clerk who had once sold a Bible to a man named David were gone. Her face was etched with the geography of survival, sharp lines around the eyes, a jaw set in perpetual determination. "Filtration is holding," Mike said, his voice raspy. At 35, the mechanic had become the group's engineer. He wiped grease from his forehead. "But the filters won't last another 6 months." "They have to," Katie replied, her voice low. "We move when the Father says move." Around the small common area, the remnant of their group gathered. There was John, 35, a man whose physical strength was matched only by a gentle, unwavering faith. He was sharpening a hunting knife, his movements rhythmic. Ayana, 28, a woman who had once been a nurse, was tending to Kylie, 27, a woman who was cataloging their dwindling rations. Paula, 30, sat in the corner, reading by the dim light of a hand-crank lantern. They were fewer now. They had buried Susan 3 months ago, digging a grave in the hard, frozen earth of the bunker's entryway. They had baptized her in a rain barrel just days before she passed. She died with the hope the world outside had lost. "We need to go deeper," John said, looking up. "The radiation sensors near the entrance are spiking. The fallout is settling heavier." They packed what they could. They moved through the labyrinth of the underground facility they had fought to secure from a gang of marauders a year prior. In the lower levels, they found a sealed blast door. It took Mike 4 hours to bypass the lock. When the heavy steel groaned open, they weren't met with stale air, but with the smell of stale bourbon and gun oil. A man sat in a leather chair, a shotgun across his lap, illuminated by the glow of a massive battery array. He was 50, white, with a beard that reached his chest and eyes that had seen the horrors of war long before the bombs fell. "You took your time," the man grunted. This was Elijah, a once homeless combat veteran, a drunk, a gambler, a man no one knew had previously prepared for the end of the world, not out of faith, but out of paranoia. He had gathered food, water, and weapons, but as he looked at the ragtag group of intruders, he saw something he didn't have. He saw peace. Over the next few weeks, as the winter raged above, a transformation occurred below. Katie didn't preach to Elijah. She showed him the charts. She showed him the timeline David had left behind. Elijah, a man of tactics and logistics, looked at the prophecies of Daniel and Revelation. He saw the timeline of empires, the rise of the papacy, the deception of the globe, and the coming kingdom. "It wasn't random," Elijah whispered one night, tracing the line of the timeline with a calloused finger. "The wars I fought, the bombs, it was all scripted." "It is written," Katie said softly, "but the ending is written too." Elijah poured his last bottle of bourbon down the drain that night. He rose from the sink a soldier, not for a nation, but for the Creator. Chapter 2. The Throne of the Dragon. While the remnant sharpened their spirits in the dark, the architects of the New Age were solidifying their dominion. Deep beneath the Vatican, in a bunker that gleamed with sterile white light and humming server banks, a ceremony was taking place. It was not broadcast to the shivering masses above. This was for the inner circle. The Black Pope, the superior general of the Jesuits, stood in the center of the room. He was a white man, his face pale and gaunt, eyes devoid of warmth. He did not wear the white robes of the public pontiff. He He wore a simple black cassock. In front of him stood a monolithic server tower, pulsating with a blue rhythmic light. This was the housing of the advanced AGI, Artificial General Intelligence, that now managed the reconstruction of the world. But the believers in the room knew it was more than code. It was a vessel. "The time of the shadows is over," the Black Pope declared, his voice echoing in the chamber. "The restraint is removed. We receive the seat, the power, and the great authority." The lights in the room flickered and turned a deep blood red. A voice did not come from the speakers, but seemed to vibrate in the very bones of those present. It was the voice of the dragon, the ancient foe, finally granted his request to rule the earth openly for 42 months. Standing at the right hand of the Black Pope was a man known to the world as the Prophet. He was handsome, charismatic, a tech mogul who had woven spirituality into the algorithm. He smiled, a look of beatific malice. "The herd is thinned," the Prophet said. "The survivors are hungry. They are terrified. They are ready to be marked." "Execute the Georgia Protocol," the Black Pope commanded. "Build the cities, seal the domes, bring them to the slaughter." Chapter 3. The Broken Firmament. Year 0. The Emergence. The door to the bunker opened. Katie, Elijah, and John stepped out first, weapons raised, expecting fire. Instead, they were met with silence. The world they knew was gone. The cities were glass craters, the forests were matchsticks. But it was the sky that stopped them in their tracks. The sun was out, but it looked different. The light was harsher, less diffused. The deep, infinite blue of the old sky was replaced by a chaotic, shimmering haze. "The firmament," John whispered, looking up. "They cracked it." High above, visible only to those who knew what to look for, were fractures, glitching sections of the sky where the protective dome had been damaged by the nuclear heat. It was a terrifying reminder of the enclosed system they lived in, now seemingly fragile and exposed. "We can't stay here," Elijah said, his tactical mind taking over. "There's nothing to eat. We need to find where the people went." They traveled for weeks, moving by night to avoid the drones that buzzed like angry hornets in the sky. They found scattered pockets of survivors, men and women who had lost their minds, screaming that God was dead. Katie and her group offered them water and the truth. Some listened, most ran. Then they saw it. Rising from the ashes of the eastern seaboard was a structure that defied logic. It was a wall, miles high, shimmering with a holographic shield. Inside, lights blazed. It was one of the 10 megalopolises, the New Babel. 10 toes of iron and clay, Paula murmured, quoting the prophecy. "They've built their own world," Katie said, adjusting her pack. "And our mission field is inside." Chapter 4. The Gilded Cage. The megalopolis was a prison disguised as a paradise. The group did not enter the city. They knew they could not pass the biometric scanners. Instead, they set up a base in the rugged, radiation-scarred hills overlooking the massive complex that stretched from what was once Virginia to New York. Using Elijah's long-range optics, they watched. Inside the force fields, the air was scrubbed clean. The temperature was a constant 72 degrees. Holographic projections masked the ruined sky, displaying a perfect fake heaven with a fake sun. Society had been restructured. At the top were the super elites, the billionaires who had funded the bunkers. Below them, the elites, actors, politicians, the useful faces. And at the bottom, the worker class. But the vast majority of the population had no work. AGI drones built the buildings. AGI systems grew the food in hydroponic towers. The people were given universal life credits. "It's a trap," Ayana said, watching the feed they had managed to intercept on a cracked tablet. The news feed showed the prophet addressing the masses. He spoke of oneness. He spoke of the Gaia spirit. He told them that to receive their credits, to eat, to have shelter, they needed to be integrated. The old world was chaotic because we were separate. The prophet's voice smoothed over the airwaves. To be one, we must share the same pulse, the same mind. He held up his right hand. Embedded in the webbing between his thumb and forefinger was a small, glowing implant. Pertholite technology. This is not just a chip, he smiled. It is your connection to the divine. It is your wallet, your ID, your medical record, and your prayer. The mark, Kylie wept. It's really happening. They watched as lines of people, thousands of them, stretched for miles. Men, women, children. They were eager. They laughed. They high-fived as they walked past the scanners, offering their right hands to the machine. Those who refused? The feed didn't show them, but Elijah had seen the incinerator chutes on the north side of the city. He knew what biomass processing meant. Chapter 5. The Wireless War. Year 3. The wilderness had hardened the group into a special operations unit for the kingdom of God. They moved constantly, never sleeping in the same cave twice. Their clothes were rags, but their eyes burned with the fire of the Holy Spirit. They had found others, a network of believers hiding in the clefts of the rocks, communicating via shortwave radios and dead drops. Katie was the general. Elijah was the sword. Tonight is the night, Katie said, pointing to the map of the megalopolis's outer data rim. They are pushing the upgrade. We have to interrupt it. The mission was suicide, or it would have been for anyone else. They infiltrated the ruins of Manassas, now a graveyard of data centers serving the Beast system. Mike and Kylie worked on the hardware, splicing into the fiber optic cables that ran under the city walls. John and Elijah stood guard, weapons ready, watching for the hunter-killer drones. I'm in, Mike said, sweat dripping onto his keyboard. I've got access to the public announcement frequencies for zones 1 through 4. Upload it, Katie ordered. They didn't upload a virus. They uploaded a video file. It was a simple recording of John, standing in front of a white sheet, reading Revelation 14. If any man worship the beast and his image, and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of God. For 12 minutes, the screens in the megalopolis, the billboards, the tablets, the ocular implants, flickered and played the message. The 3 angels' messages, the warning against the false Sabbath, the call to worship the Creator of the heaven and the earth. Inside the city and over time, chaos erupted. People tore at their implants. Families argued. The illusion of the perfect world fractured for just a moment, revealing the prison bars. Drones inbound! Elijah shouted. They scrambled, packing the gear as laser fire scorched the concrete around them. They ran into the tree line, disappearing like ghosts before the Pertholite security forces could triangulate their position. Chapter 6. The Wrath of the Dragon. Deep in the earth, the Black Pope watched the replay of the hack. He did not yell. He simply turned to the prophet. The shepherd is losing the sheep, he said. The master is displeased. He is done with the subtle approach. The prophet nodded, his face pale. The integration is at 80%, but the resistance is growing. The broadcast, it woke many up. Then we put them to sleep forever, the Black Pope said. Initiate the oath. No more hidden worship. The mask comes off. The announcement went out the next morning. The universal life credits were suspended. All food distribution was halted. The prophet appeared on every screen, no longer smiling. His eyes were dark, his voice a growl that sounded like tearing metal. You have eaten from the table of the new world, he declared. Now you must pay the host. In 30 days, On the first day of the week, the day of the sun, every citizen will present themselves before the image. You will bow. You will verbally renounce the Creator. You will pledge your soul to the dragon, the light bearer. Any who refuse will be purged. Chapter 7. The Rescue. The countdown began. The believers in the hills watched as the city turned into a frenzy of fear and debauchery. "We have to get Sarah," Ayanna said, her voice breaking. Sarah was a young girl from their group who had been captured during a supply run 2 days prior. "They're holding her in the processing center in Sector 7. It's a fortress," Elijah said, studying the schematics. "But there's a drainage outflow. It's tight. Hazardous." "We go," John said. "We leave no one behind." The rescue was a blur of violence and grace. Under the cover of a thunderstorm, Elijah, John, and Ayanna infiltrated the perimeter. They fought their way through the corridors of the processing center, using non-lethal pulse weapons they had scavenged. They found Sarah in a holding cell, awaiting processing. She was battered but singing a hymn under her breath. As they broke her out, the alarms triggered. Pertholite guards, enhanced with exoskeletons, blocked the hallway. "Go!" John shouted, shoving Ayanna and Sarah toward the exit. "I'll hold them!" "No, John!" Ayanna screamed. "It is finished!" John smiled, his face radiant. He charged the guards, a makeshift shield in one hand, buying them the seconds they needed. From the hill, Katie watched through the scope as the explosion rocked the sector. She lowered the binoculars, tears streaming down her face. "Rest now, good and faithful servant." Chapter 8. The Day of the Sun. The 30 days expired. It was Sunday. In the center of the megalopolis, a massive holographic image was erected. It towered over the buildings, a figure of light and beauty that shifted into a dragon of terrifying power. The citizens of the 10 kingdoms were herded into the squares. They were starving. They were drug-addled. They were terrified. One by one, they knelt. "I renounce the Creator," they chanted in unison, their voices amplified by the AGI system. "I accept the dragon as my lord. I accept his mark." As they spoke, the chips in their hands pulsed with a crimson light. It was done. They had crossed the line of no return. Their probation was closed. Immediately, the food dispensers unlocked. The drugs flowed. The city erupted into a party of unimaginable depravity. The streets filled with naked, writhing bodies, celebrating their freedom while engaging in acts of violence and lust that would have made Sodom blush. Chapter 9. The Sealing. In the wilderness, the silence was profound. Katie, Elijah, Paula, Ayanna, Kylie, and the rescued Sarah stood on the ridge. They were dirty, hungry, and exhausted. But as they watched the city, they felt a weight lift from their shoulders. A peace, distinct and heavy, settled over them. It was a sensation of absolute security. "Do you feel that?" Paula whispered, looking at her hands. "The sealing," Katie said, her voice filled with awe. "The angel has passed. We are his." They knew, with a certainty that transcended logic, that the mark had no power over them. They were the property of the Most High. The 144,000, spiritual Israel, were numbered. They looked at the charts. The time of the end was over. The end times were concluding. "What comes now?" Sarah asked, looking at the dark clouds gathering over the city, clouds that were not natural. "The last days," Katie replied. "The time of trouble such as never was." Chapter 10. The First Plague. The party in the city was at its peak. The music thumped, shaking the ground. The prophet stood on his balcony, raising a chalice of wine to the dragon. Then, the music stopped. It started as a murmur, then a ripple, then a roar of agony. A man in the front row dropped his wine, clawing at his right hand. The skin around the implant boiled. It turned a sickly purple, then black. An open, noisome sore erupted, oozing pus and blood. The scream was infectious. Across the square, thousands began to shriek. The sores appeared on their hands, on their bodies, wherever the pertholite tech touched them. The pain was excruciating, a burning fire that no drug could numb. The prophet looked at his own hand. The perfect skin bubbled. He dropped the chalice as the sore consumed his flesh. High in the hills, the group watched the lights of the city flicker as the operators collapsed in agony. Katie turned to her family of warriors. She looked at the timeline one last time. The final segment was read. "The mercy of God has been withdrawn from the beast," she said. "The 7 vials are pouring out." She looked up at the sky, where the true stars were beginning to break through the glitching and scarred firmament. The last days have begun.
For more Bible-based end-time prophecy dramas to strengthen your faith and the faith of others, help spread the word by supporting the channel. Please like, subscribe, and share.